want to give you guys an update. We got to go political really quickly, just quick. We're going to only spend 10 minutes. Let's see. It's 1:16. By 1:26 p.m. Eastern, I want to be done with this story. I want to be done with this one. Now, there's legal woes, more legal woes that's piling up for the president. And then on top of that, he's recently released a statement about his stance on abortion. Now, why is this important and why is this relevant? Because this is the very thing that Democrats are standing on in order to try to sway you to vote a certain way. Now, Anton from AntonDaniels.com, I have my stance on the way that I'm going to vote. I'm a little bit more conservative. And I think that the policies and the ways in which these two presidents, in which we have at least 4 years of both of them being in office to evaluate who did the best job. Trump before him, Biden after. Now, we know that the four most important things to Americans are what? Housing. Nobody wants to be homeless. More people are becoming homeless every single day. We keep modifying it and saying, oh, we live in van life or we living in a tiny home. No, man, you're homeless. You're taking a shower inside of the gym. You're washing up, and then you're going to use the bathroom overnight inside of the Walmart. Okay? It's called homelessness. That's the first thing. Number two, migrant crisis. That is another important thing that people are really, really concerned about when it comes to what is happening here in the United States of America. People want to know what's going on and why are our borders open to people to just coming in here. Okay, that's the number two thing that people are really, really concerned about. Number three, inflation, the cost of living, your ability to be able to take care of yourself, make sure that you can take care of yourself in the face of an emergency. Car notes is going up, interest rates are high, house notes are high, rent is high, food is high, and people, even when they get a raise, they don't like the idea that their money doesn't seem to go any further. And this is one of the reasons that you want to tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And number four, relationships, right? People want to know that they can find somebody that can share in their life joys, and then they don't want to leave them. But at the same time, they want to find love. Now, love has nothing to do with politics. You can use it to have a conversation about single-parent households or whatever. But these are the four things that I found in my journey of doing the Millionaire Morning Show, having conversations across the board that people are absolutely concerned about. Again, relationships, that has nothing to do with politics. Has a little bit to do with politics, but nothing as a result of what it is that you're going to vote for. Relationships, inflation, migrant crisis, housing. The fundamentals of what is important to Americans. But you know what they're walking around having a conversation about, especially on the liberal side? Oh my God, abortion, Roe v. Wade, Supreme Court. We want to make sure that the states is going to have the ammunition that they need in order to allow for you to go into Planned Parenthood. This is the thing, because they know that it's emotional for you. That they can tap into your emotions, then they can sway you to vote a certain type of way and keep you distracted from the things that's really meaningful to you that can actually change your life. Why is abortion not important to most people? Or to some people, it's a little bit more important. Well, for me, it's not important because I know that I can control whether or not a woman is going to have an abortion by controlling myself. So I'm not concerned about something that I have control over myself. I'm controlled over things that I don't have control over. Okay? That's important to me. So it then forced one presidential candidate, Trump, to make a statement about where he stood on abortion, and we're going to review that. But before we get into that, we're first going to give you a little bit of a summary and an update, because we haven't talked about Trump in a while. We're going to give you a little bit of an update on what's going on with his legal woes, where he stands on that, and then we're going to look at what his statement was with regard to abortion. Make sure that you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. If you have not shared this with your family and friends, you are very, 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 very much robbing them of the great experience that you have waking up every single morning and having this conversation with us. Chat lives matter. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate everybody that support the platform. I'm going to continue to read super chats throughout the show. And then last but not least, make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get to it.
Selection for Donald Trump's hush money case begins next week, and the pool of jurors is expected to fill out a lengthy questionnaire.
They'll be asked a range of things, from if they listen to certain podcasts to if they follow groups like QAnon, that movement. Good Day's Briella Tomasetti is here now with the latest on what we can expect next week and the former president's latest efforts to postpone that trial. Briella, good morning.
Yeah, Dan and Tashani, looks like that's not happening. Former President Donald Trump's hush money case is the first of his 4 criminal indictments slated to go to trial, and this would be historic, the first criminal trial ever of a former president. Jury selection is slated to begin on April 15th, but as in any case, jurors will have to set aside their personal feelings and render a decision based on the evidence and the law. A New York appeals court judge has decided that Donald Trump's hush money trial will not be postponed. Justice Lizbeth Gonzalez handed down the ruling after hearing from Trump's lawyers and the Manhattan DA's office, which charged him with 34 counts of falsifying business records related to alleged hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. The former president, who has pleaded not guilty to all counts, made a last-ditch effort to delay the trial as he fights to move the case out of Manhattan. He is suing Judge Juan Merchan, asking for a change in venue just 1 week before jury selection is scheduled to begin.
Let me say this. Getting yourself involved with somebody and then letting your past come to haunt you could never be more of a man thing. That is the gift that keeps on giving. This happened in the Jonathan Majors. This happened in the Trump. I mean, who would have thought that Stormy Daniels would be sitting at the forefront of the congregation during an election year in 2024, and we're still talking about Stormy Daniels. I mean, Stormy Daniels. Still having a conversation about Stormy Daniels.
In a separate filing, Trump challenged his gag order on the case. Merchan recently expanded that gag order after Trump lashed out at his daughter, a Democratic political consultant, on Truth Social. Merchan announced yesterday that prospective jurors will be asked if they've ever worked for the Trump campaign, whether they've ever attended a Trump rally, and whether they follow the former president on social media. Meanwhile, special counsel Jack Smith, who was appointed in 2022 to investigate Trump's alleged role in working to overturn the 2020 election results, is urging the Supreme Court to reject the former president's claim that he is immune from criminal prosecution. In a 66-page filing, Smith argued that there are no presidential powers which would entitle Trump to immunity. The Supreme Court agreed to hear that case the week of April 22nd.
So, essentially, the most prosecuted president in the history of presidential candidates is going to be facing another trial while he's also campaigning in order to be president of the United States. And then more importantly, I think that the real conversation here is not just the prosecution, but a juror's inability to be impartial so that he can have a fair trial. It's not possible. It's not possible for a juror to be impartial. Every single person that I've ever met in my entire life that has ever spoken for or against Trump absolutely, positively had strong feelings one way or the other. I don't think it's possible to have a fair trial amongst the jury of your peers in which people are basically impartial towards whatever it is that you are, especially in Manhattan. Especially in Manhattan. So we'll keep an eye on that. But let's switch over really quickly and let's get his statement and his take on abortion. And in order to do that, I wanted to go into a completely different platform. As you know, I like to source my stuff from different platforms to get different perspectives in order to be able to have this conversation.
Now to one of the most heated issues in the upcoming election, abortion policy. Former President Donald Trump officially announcing his stance on Truth Social today. In a video post, he said abortion should be left up to the states and did not mention a nationwide ban.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state.
The decision angered both sides of the aisle. Pro-life advocates have been pushing for a federal abortion ban. Meanwhile, abortion proponents believe more should be done to protect the procedure.
So essentially, his position is it's not up to him as a political, from a political perspective. It is up to each individual state and their governors and their legislature to determine whatever the abortion laws are in their state. And so I don't really understand why that's a problem. How does it anger people on both sides of the aisle? He's saying, listen, that's up to your individual state and your individual governors to determine what's best for your state. Some people feel a certain type of way. Some people feel the other type of way. And if you are a person that lives in a more conservative state, it's going to go one way. If you're a person that lives in a more liberal state, it's going to go the other way. I'm trying to understand why this is such a polarizing topic. You know, this is one of the rare topics. This is one of the rare topics that I don't have a position on. I genuinely don't. For almost every single other topic that comes up, whether it's political, whether it's blackity black, whether it's whitey white, is whitey white a thing? Whether it's financial, relationship-wise, I have an opinion and a strong position on it. I'm either white or I'm black on a position, one way or another, for or against. It is what it is. This is the one thing. I remember when they had that whole thing with the Supreme Court a little while ago and they was talking about Roe v. Wade and stuff. And it was like, yo, this is so important or whatever. And for some reason, it just didn't bother me. Because I was thinking to myself, that doesn't affect me. I've never, ever in my life had to make sure that I go and ran and got a plan B, that I had to do this, that I had to do that. Not one time in my entire life was I ever affected by what was going on with regard to abortion. It just wasn't a thing. Wasn't even a consideration. Because I knew that I controlled my own seed. I knew that I controlled my own seed. So it just wasn't something that I'm going to be... If I'm going to make a decision about who's going to be the president of the United States of America, abortion rights is not going to be on the ballot for me. And I don't understand why it's on the ballot for anybody else. I'm just genuinely curious. For people that are passionate about this, why are you passionate about it? And I'm just trying to understand it. I know that it's a polarizing topic, but I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. I don't understand why this is a thing, why this is so meaningful to people. How does this determine who's going to be president of the United? See, for me, it's just more pressing issues. It's more pressing issues for me. Yes, my stance is about discipline. 100%. 100%. If I get a woman pregnant, which we know that that's impossible, because Anton got the snip. I got the snip. If I was to ever get a woman pregnant, it's got to be an immaculate conception. It's an immaculate conception.